coming to you live from the Coach's Podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. This is Motivation You, the podcast. Yes, we're live here at the Coach's Podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille at Celebration Point, enjoying another week of Motivation You, the podcast. A lot of great things going on in and around this area, and we have a terrific guest today, Andrew Johnstone. Andrew is the general manager here at Gridiron Grille, and we're going to talk about some of those little intricacies that happen in a startup and what the process was to get this organization off the ground. Sometimes you buy a building and you move your team in. Today we're going to find out what it was like to build a building and bring people in during a pandemic and all of those things. So we'll spend a lot of time with Andrew talking about that. Couple of things I want to share with you. What are we about? What is this program? This is a leadership motivation, and I've used the terminology living an intentional life. What does that mean? Well, it really means taking care of yourself and doing things based upon what you are originating. Don't wait for everything else to happen in your life. And in a couple of minutes, we'll talk about some 5 core beliefs to better help you. First of all, about this podcast. You can listen to us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on Google, Overcast. I mean, we're on 39 different platforms that you can find us on. Plus, you can watch us live on both Facebook and YouTube. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, please go down to that chat section and ask some questions, especially when Andrew gets in here. Ask him some questions about the restaurant, about his leadership styles, and different things that are going on in your world, because this is for you. This show is for you. It's for people like you, and I see my friend Bill Varner, graduate of our class from Celebration Point out there. That's what this show is for. It's for you to share ideas and for us to share some ideas with you. I'm a firm believer that some of the best leaders in the world may be living next door to you. Those individuals that are running companies in your hometown, that they don't get the Zuckerberg notoriety, the Bill Gates notoriety. Yet these are people that are dealing with individuals and helping families in your own community. Those are the people that we're bringing into this podcast. Those individuals that you see at Walmart or at the Nike store or at a restaurant, at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You see them at Visors upstairs. Those individuals that are moving the economy forward in tough times and how they're doing it. That's what I built this podcast for, is for sharing those stories. And it's really important. So it's great that we're on all 39 of these platforms and that you can watch us live here from Coach's Podcast room. Yet the key is that we get more individuals involved. We've had Mayor Scott Matheson from Valdosta, Georgia, an entrepreneur and a mayor. We've had Coach Spurrier on, Dr. Glenn Miller talking about the educational side of leadership. We've had Doreen Wiebe, the challenges that she's gone through and how she's excelling in a real estate career now. And then we moved over to Jennifer Meisenhelder, excuse me, who just an incredible person at the University of Florida. And then last week, Coach Bob Miller, and talking about his leadership styles. And today, Andrew Johnstone. These are individuals that you're gonna see, picking up the kids at school. You're gonna see them, in the gymnasiums at basketball games in different places. That's what we want to really accentuate here. So I was mentioning some 5 core beliefs. I read a great article a few days ago, and it was talking about these 5 core beliefs. And what we do in Dale Carnegie is we really work on building your confidence, your people skills, communication skills, leadership, and managing stress. And those programs that we've had quite often here in Gainesville, we have one starting tonight in Jacksonville. The next Gainesville one is the 21st of September here at Hotel Indigo at Celebration Point. These are programs you want to get involved in. I was on a meeting this morning that we're putting together a program up in Tifton, Georgia. But no matter where you live, if it's California or Michigan, there is a Dale Carnegie franchisee near you. Contact them, get involved, and find out what we do. We have great new programs coming like Evolve. That's something I'm really excited about. We'll be rolling that out probably late this year or early in 2022. But let's talk about these core beliefs. These are strategies to help you better yourself. Some of those things that we do in our life, we get into these ruts. We get into these daily habits. Some of them are real good, and some of them can kind of take us off onto a tangent into some place that we shouldn't be or we don't need to be. One of the things that I will share with you is you want to recall your successes. All of us, myself included, we tend to center and focus on the negative. This went wrong. This happened. Think about your little puppy dog. You don't normally talk about when they eat their food well, but if they have an accident on the floor, you get all excited about it. We want to focus on our successes. Try to recall those successes. Think back, start running that through the computer in your mind of the things that you've done well. And you will find that you tend to stray towards that on a regular basis. So really look at that. Really recall your successes. The second thing is, do not compare yourself to other people. Now, you are you. You're unique. You are who you are. So many times, I'll get in a classroom. Last night we were talking in a class here in Gainesville where, well, why is this person in a class? They're such a great speaker. No, this is about you. Don't compare yourself to other people. Find a baseline where you're at right now and then build from that baseline and start improving yourself. It's like going to the gym. You walk into the gym, maybe you're a few pounds overweight and you want to, slim down a little bit and start lifting some weights, getting some biceps or whatever. And you look at everybody in there and all these people are, wow. And you start comparing yourself to them and it can be deflating and defeating to you. Find out where you are at this point, then set some goals and start working to that. Don't compare yourself to other people. You are who you are. So that's the second point. So point 1, recall your successes. Point 2, don't compare yourself to other people. 3, use positive self-talk. The voice that you hear in your brain is the voice you hear the most. We would like to think that maybe it's mom's voice or dad's voice, but really it's that soundtrack of your life is being played between your ears on a constant daily basis. No matter what you're doing, that is the voice you're going to hear the most. And what is it telling you? What are you listening to? Are they things that are negative? Are you looking at the mistakes that you've made in your life? You can't go back and change those. You can change what goes forward. So set yourself some affirmations and really start telling yourself positive things. Start growing from that standpoint. Big part of the Dale Carnegie class is creating an environment where people feel safe to learn. What do I mean by safe? That they can try anything they want and nobody's going to judge them. Well, the biggest hurdle to get through in that is letting yourself do it. Pushing yourself out of that bubble that you're in and really saying, okay, I'm going to try this. Because it's not always other people that judge us. Unfortunately, the person that judges us the most is ourselves. And therefore, we tend to hold ourselves back the most. You want to make a shift or a change in your life? Let yourself do it. Convince yourself that you can. And then run that soundtrack in your mind over and over and over again. So that's the third point. Positive self-talk. Number 4, set goals. If you just took off on the ocean and you wanted to sail to, let's say we left St. Augustine and we wanted to sail across the Atlantic. If you didn't have a target to get there, if you didn't put a point out there, I mean, you could sail aimlessly for years, and you could be lost out there. Our lives get like that. Once we get away from the land, our safe area, if we don't have a goal to get to, it's like being in the middle of the ocean. You have nothing to kind of compare yourself to where you are. There's no land mass. It's nothing but water. And that's the way our lives can be if we don't set goals. So set specific goals. Not these broad things like, well, I hope to be this. No, set a specific goal and then roll it backwards to find out what you need to do to get to that. And then set smaller goals that you can take a bite out of and get yourself to. And then as you start accumulating these successes in these smaller goals, you're on your path, you're on your journey to your larger goal. So that's number 4. Set goals. Learn how to set goals. Study it. Hey, go to the internet. Look at other people. Don't compare yourself to them, but learn from what they've done. And another great thing you can do is you can learn from their mistakes so you don't duplicate those. You can find the best practices and then duplicate those. Huge key. So set goals. And the 5th core belief from this article was to visualize your greatness. A key thing that we teach in the Dale Carnegie class is that your mind works in pictures. The example I always use is red apple. A red apple. You don't see REDAPPLE. You see this red, juicy apple. And really add some emotion to it. You know, get that color of red. I grew up in the state of Michigan, and we used to go to the Franklin Cider Mill outside of Detroit in the fall. Absolutely. Just an awesome place. And my daughter doesn't live far from there, and I'm kind of envious. And I think we're going to have to my wife and I are going to have to make a trip up to Michigan this year to enjoy some of that, the smells and the hay rides and the apple cider. But that red apple, I think of that Macintosh apple that's just crisp and cool and juicy. And when you bite into it, it has that crunchy sound and the juice just kind of drips down your hand. So you can paint that picture. Those are the things we want to visualize in our lives too. Mind works in pictures, so paint your greatness in your brain. Paint that picture of what it's like. What is it going to feel like? What is your skin going to feel like? That those goosebumps when you start getting to your target, whatever that is. Paint that vivid picture of what you want in your greatness. Add color, add emotion. Put it all together. Make it powerful. See a picture of the way you want life to be. Even if you're not there yet, you can get there. It's in your mind, and it will attract you to that. We tend to go towards the thing that we think of the most. So if we start putting these positive pictures in our minds, we'll tend to get ourselves going in that direction. So you want to see yourself being the person that you want to be as if it's already there. Not that I'm going to be this or I hope to be this. No, put yourself in that picture. Paint that vision that you've already accomplished that, and then go over it over and over again. I can remember when we were living in Michigan, it was a cold winter, that last winter of 1994. And my daughter had been ill, and I started putting in my mind this picture of living in Florida. Over and over, I drew the picture. I had Jimmy Buffett music playing on my stereo all the time. I tried to create every little nuance of feeling that we were already here. And within 6, 7, 8 months, there we were. We were living in Ocala and really enjoying life. Now I have to admit to you, I get a little picky now. Back then, I wore shorts and flip-flops all the time. Even that 1 week when it got cold, it still didn't bother me. Now, if the temperature, goes between below 72, I'm like, oh, it's freezing. My point is to set that, visualize that, see it in your mind what you want to be. So let's review those 5. Number 1, recall your successes. Don't dwell on the negative. See the successes in your life and look at those things. We all have a pattern of success. Number 2, don't compare yourself to other people. You are who you are. You're unique. Nobody else is like you, exactly like you. Revel in that. Enjoy it. Number 3, use positive self-talk. Right? Just that voice in your mind. Pat yourself on the back. Use positive self-talk. Number 4, set goals. Set goals that you can attain, get to those goals, and make it happen. And then we have number 5, visualize your greatness. Paint that picture to what you are and how great that you can be and your successes. Appreciate that. We'll be coming back in a few minutes, a couple of minutes we'll take a break here and then we'll bring Andrew back. We're here at the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. This is MotivationU the Podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hello, Bob Ganzak for the Dale Carnegie course. Because of the great strength that we've had in the last couple of classes here, we are having another Dale Carnegie class starting September 21st, Tuesday night, the 21st, from 6 until 9:30 at Hotel Indigo. It's one of those things that's going to change your life. It's going to really give you the tools where you can improve at business, in your relationships, just in your love of life. So you will be able to sign up at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, find courses, find the one that is for September 21st in Gainesville. Hotel Indigo, 6 to 9:30. 8 weeks in a row, incredible energy, atmosphere. You'll love it. Sign up today for the Dale Carnegie class. Thank you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Welcome back. We're live from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille in Celebration Point. And I am totally excited about this guest today. I met Andrew a few months ago, and I am just so excited to talk about this project, talk about your leadership, talk about the challenges that are going on within here, and just to spend some time talking about what you do. So, Andrew, welcome to MotivationU the Podcast.
I appreciate you having me here today, Bob.
That's great.
I'm super excited.
Good. Where are you from originally?
Grew up in upstate New York. Went to college, Clarkson, near the Canadian border. Never thought I'd be in the restaurant business. Always thought I'd do economics or finance. I bartended, worked in the kitchen through college, and it's just, I gravitated towards it. It was, it was fun. It was exciting. I enjoyed the banter. Throughout the restaurant, it was just, it was perfect for me.
That's great. One of the great things I love about this podcast is that I do prepare some questions, as you can see in front of me, but yet we tend to get off on tangents. And it's the way the guest takes something, and you just said something that when you were in college, you kind of gravitated towards the food industry. We're here in a college town in a restaurant that bears the name of probably the most famous collegiate athlete ever in this state.
Absolutely.
How do you guide the young people that are coming, that maybe are going to college now? I was thinking, is it Kayla, the young lady that works at in bartender here?
Kayla, yes.
Kayla, she waited on me the other day, and she was telling me that she is going back to school and taking classes. How do you help them navigate that based on your background?
Well, obviously, you want to find something that you're passionate about, something that you love. I worked many, many hours, especially last week trying to get this project off the ground, but it doesn't feel like work to me. Hopefully they see that and it becomes infectious, and it makes them, more engaged and more motivated. But, there's some people here that are, paying their bills to go through college. Other ones that, are starting that way and think maybe, they're going to go into a different field, and they're like, wow, I really love this. And I've had a couple already approach us,
That's good.
But just by what's going on. So, you have all types. Some that are going to be professional, some are going to be here, some in the back of the house that this is a career. Some of the bartenders that are career bartenders. Other ones are going to go, we just lost one. She's going to NY Dental School. So again, it just depends. We're here for whatever,
You like to lose those you don't like to lose the person, but you like to lose the people for that reason.
But again, if I can have them during their college career, some will go away to different careers. Other ones will become part of our leadership team. And there's nothing more fulfilling than having someone that comes in as maybe a freshman, maybe never thought that this is something they would do for a career. They grow, they take on more responsibilities, and then they become the future leaders of our company. And, it's important to build that bench strength.
So how did you get started? You were tending bar, you were going to school. When did the first bit probably happened? So you got that bite and it was tending, but where was the one that said, I'm going to do this the rest of my life?
I took a part-time job with Bloomin' Brands, Outback Steakhouse. It was part-time at night, working part-time. And I just really loved it. And they're like, hey, you have an aptitude for this. You seem like you're, smarter than the average bear. And I think the kitchen manager left. The assistant kitchen manager got promoted to kitchen manager, and then so on. The kitchen manager left. So it was just, it was pretty a fast track. I felt like I picked up on things quickly, and then, it was very enjoyable. And, I worked for Outback for 16 or 17 years. It was a great company. I worked, started as an hourly employee, worked all the way up to, operating partner. And, it was a great 16 or 17-year run with a great company that had, a very strong culture. Building a great culture is important to me. So, Outback was my first real career, hospitality type position. I had bartending and a couple other things through college, summers and weekends and stuff like that. But, it was great to work for a company that had such a strong culture, that cared about people, great food. So that was the start of my career in this industry.
Where was that at? Where were you housed at that time?
I started in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Worked at the one location there on Yale. Started as an hourly employee and just kind of worked up to assistant kitchen manager, manager. And then I was a multi-unit individual that kind of had 6 or 7 states, 19 stores, traveled around. Moved up to Minnesota to open that market with my director of operations, ran a store in Rochester, Minnesota. Oh. Had an opportunity to move to Florida. That's kind of where the big bucks, the big dollar stores were. Plus much better weather than Rochester, Minnesota. Yeah. Spent 14 years, give or take, here in the Gainesville market, and then moved on to a more multi-unit role with a couple different companies. My last before taking on this project was Mission Barbecue, a great company. Their goal was to me the most beloved brand in America, and that was the ownership's goal every single day, and I took a lot from that.
That's good. Now, when you were working, Outback's a franchise.
Corporately owned.
Corporately owned, but there are multiple stores where you're duplicating a process in many, many different areas.
It's
right?
very cookie cutter.
Okay.
You have systems in place. You have trainers go from an established store to help open stores. So again, there's challenges like any business, but again, there was a lot of guardrails in place, a lot of systems that help the operators on the store level, to make things happen on a daily basis.
Well, as we talk about leadership in that environment, how do you, if you, as you said, you have guardrails, how do you get your personal leadership philosophy and enthusiasm, ingrained in that? Or did they give you, areas that you could interject some of your own personal thought into it?
Obviously, they had their principles and beliefs. That was kind of the guiding, like a true North Star, they would call it. So that was kind of the roadmap on that. But I think it was important for each store ran differently by, what the leadership modeled. Hard work, integrity, taking care of our people. Our people are, the most important part of any business. You can have a beautiful building. You can have an incredible menu. You can have, beautiful glassware and all the things we have through this space. But, the team is what's going to make things happen. That's the guest-facing, the first interaction. If, you have a team that's not engaged, buy into, the bigger vision, are not team players, you're going to have issues. So again, it's, culture takes a long time. It's a brick by brick, process. And, it takes a long time to build a great culture. Unfortunately, I've seen, through my career, it's very easy for that culture to erode. So again, I'm a big process-driven individual, and I think, like an architect, you're building a foundation. If that foundation is weak, not built properly, things are going to start to sway and fall apart. So I think it's important to speak from a cultural standpoint and have values and live those every single day without wavering.
Where did you start developing your leadership style? Was it, as a child, what were your views on leadership? How were you raised into that leadership world? And when did you really start establishing the style that you show today?
So again, my dad was a small business owner. I still tell this story that, in a glass business in New York where I grew up, and, the phone would ring at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and, he'd always tell me, he'd get his work pants on, his Dickies, and he would go out at 2 in the morning and fix a window. And he would come back in the morning and we'd have breakfast. And he said, you know why they called me is because I always answer the phone. So, I modeled that, incredible work ethic, that hunger to, succeed. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the early year formalization of, like a work ethic, working harder than anyone. And then, having different mentors throughout my career. Dave Del Rio was a mentor at Outback, just incredible culinary mind and palate, and many others that, taught me principles that, still guide me today.
How about the people skills? I mean, you have incredible, I watch you around here, I just kind of interact and see how you touch to people, and where did you pick those up from?
I mean, I think, some of those mentors, just watching, and then, maybe some people that didn't do it very well, you pick up what not to do. Mm-hmm. And, great leaders pour into their people. How are you doing? How's your dog doing? How's your family doing? You doing okay today? Asking those simple questions. I always, like here, I know everyone's last name. We have a very large staff, and I call them by their last name. They're like, you know my last name? And I'm like, of course, you're that important to me. So again, I just taking a interest in them, guiding them, you know what I mean? So it's just the fruits have been proven over my career that if you take a team, you take care of them, you show an interest in them, they're going to perform better.
Mm-hmm. You and I were talking I think it was last Thursday evening. We were just sitting out in the restaurant, and I asked you a question. I said, are you getting any sleep? And you said, you didn't really even answer that. You just said that you're working incredible hours and you're setting that standard, that level, so that people can see that. You don't want to tell them what to do. You want to show them what your commitment is too. You're still at that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you have to be the first one in the building, last one to leave. Kind of, a sports analogy. First one on the field, last one to leave. Uh-huh. So I take that approach. I work like my lunch pail each day, put my boots on. I have chef coat on today, dive into the kitchen because, our culinary piece is the heart of the house. And, if that's not right. So, if you model that, an incredible work ethic, I think, maybe through osmosis and observation, people are like, wow, this guy's willing to jump in the dish pit or mop something or pick something up. Yep. And that's infectious.
Okay, I like that. Let's jump into this. It's one thing for a startup when you start up a company and you move into a building or you shift a name or something like that. This startup, you started with it when it was just a slab of dirt. What was that process like? I mean, because you envision what we have here. I mean, you had it in your mind. You saw the pictures, the drawings, and everything else. But every day you came to the office, it was dirt. There was no steel going up yet, What was that process like mentally for you as a leader to work through those long days and hours? And when did that start? When did you join the company?
It's been a couple years now.
Amazing.
It was right before COVID. Obviously we had some curveballs thrown at us. But again, it's every day we work through to, make sure we got this right. Freddie Wiebe is a great partner. He's very data driven. Lots of, homework on, what works, what doesn't work. So again, I think that set the foundation. And then we started working through all the nuts and bolts of, what the menu should look like, what should the furniture, the plateware, our vision for service. And we wanted to be different. There's like a sea of sameness out there, it seems like. And this is no slight on any other chain or restaurant out there, but it's just, everyone seems to kind of maybe do the same thing. And we talked about, we have to be different. We have to be better. Whatever that means, we have to use fresh ingredients. We have to use local. We have to have exacting standard. Chef Mark can probably tell you that I have a laser focus on, things being perfect. And we always talk about, things every day. We have meetings, we have pre-shift huddles, we do one-on-ones with, the management team, we do group meetings, but it's, yes, you might perform at a 10 out of 10 one day, but if the guest comes back a week later and, they grade you a 4 out of 10, you're not a 6. There's no averaging in this business. You're a 4. So it's great to have an incredible, diverse menu, but if you can't execute it to exacting standards, each and every plate, each and every guest, you're going to fall short. So again, one plate at a time, hot food hot, cold food cold. If something's not right, we fix it. We talk, engage with our guests, and we try to go above and beyond. As a leader, every day I try to improve. I fall short every day, and I'm humbled to say, we had a meeting with our staff yesterday. Lasted about 2 hours, and I started off the meeting by saying, "Hey, as a leader, I'm not perfect. I'm failing you in certain aspects, but I'm going to outwork everybody. I know the leadership team that's flanking me right now are going to outwork everyone, and we're going to get this right." And again, it's a humble approach to listening to some of their concerns or advice they give you. And I had one of them is like, most places I've worked, they listen to you in this lip service. Okay, I'll pass that along. I mean, the buck stops with me and Freddie, and we can pivot quickly. And if something's not working, we change it. And
it's that old Dale Carnegie principle when you talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. That's a great lesson to live by. You can ask questions. You just write a question in on Facebook Live. Just put it down in the chat. We'll grab it and we'll get it up here on the screen, and we'll answer your question, or Andrew will answer your question. One of the things that I've been admiring about is the fact that you had a terrible, terrible time of finding people during that pandemic time to fill this, and you need a couple hundred people to run this operation. But what impressed me is that you did not just hire bodies. You went back to the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, getting the right people on the bus and then putting them in the right seats. What was the process to select the individuals that you did to bring into Spurrier's Gridiron Grille?
So, obviously anyone can tell you, anyone that owns a business or running a business right now, it's a very difficult labor market. We could have made an excuse and said, hey, woe is me. We're not going to be able to hire. We're going to have to lower our standards. We just did not. We had a process, and that process didn't waver. It was multiple interviews, reference checks. We had to, as a leadership team, we all had to agree. If it was 3 people said yes, 1 said no, we dug in to why the one person said no, this is not going to be a good fit. So again, we just, I know sometimes during this process, maybe we didn't have enough flow of candidates, and then other times we did, and some of the leaders, on the team were like, oh, we really need to maybe pivot, and I said no, we really have to push forward, and we're not gonna lower our standards, we're not gonna change the process, and we're gonna get there. And trust me on this, follow me. We're going to come out of this, and we're going to be a great team, and we're going to have great, team members, and that are engaged. And part of it that helped, obviously brand recognition, being Spurrier's, great marketing team behind us was able to kind of get the word out. But again, it was part of, like, when you sit down with a potential teammate, you tell the story. Mm-hmm. This is unlike any other place you've worked. This is why. We're going to build a culture that's inclusive. You feel valued. We're going to listen. And I promise you, this is going to be the best place you've ever worked. And I come here every single day. I know the rest of the leadership team does as well. And you start to tell that story, and then they get buy-in, and they're like, wow. And they stay with you.
And it really is, yeah.
And obviously it was a long process, and we had done 6, 7, 8 job fairs just to kind of make some connections with people, stayed in touch, did some cool things, took some pictures in front of the Heisman and sent it to them and highlighted them on social media and things like that as potential team members. But again, I think part of it is telling the story and like, hey, do you want to be a part of something special?
Yeah.
And then explaining what that vision is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get buy-in, and they're like, wow, this is a great place. And then all of a sudden they're sending their friends here. So it's like multiplier effect. So most of our team members.
Drew, let's be real, though. This is a business that you're in, and you were writing a check for months because you didn't have the people to get the facility open. How did you stick to that process where you say we're not going to waver from the process? How did you get the ownership and everybody on the team to buy in so that you didn't waver from that process?
Obviously there's always pressure, financial pressures when you're opening a business, but you have a plan, you work the plan, and you explain it. And luckily the business owners, the partners, the investors, saw that vision as well, that knew that this is not one opportunity to have something truly special. Mm-hmm. And we weren't going to waver. Sometimes, you feel like you're getting beat up a little bit when there's some pressures like, hey, we need to move this forward. But again, I refuse to, waver, laser focused on the end goal. And that's to have the most incredible team, a championship winning team. And, it takes a lot of work.
Okay.
You can't just go out there and, anybody can work here.
You have like unique ownership. And I say unique ownership, you have some individuals that are like big personalities. And then you have this famous name that sits on the wall. How have you been juggling that in your leadership role?
I just focus on the end goal. We're going to serve great food. We're going to have, incredible, impeccable guest services. And, I don't lose sight of that. Mm-hmm. Some of the other stuff's kind of like chatter going back and forth, but you have to block that out. This is the right thing. And again, listen, if they have suggestions, and then explain, hey, that's a great idea. And sometimes, they bring great ideas to the table, and we kind of incorporate that. So you can't be, again, you have to be humble and listen. And, this is my 23rd, 24th restaurant opening. So I felt like, I had a good plan in place, and I was going to follow that to the, kind of a game plan.
So it's coaches first. Yeah. Okay. So you 23rd, 24th on your side, coaches first. How did that blend happen, and what is it like having that personality within this organization?
He's been great, very supportive, listens, gives input, comes to meetings. He's very in tune, just because never been in the restaurant business, he has a savviness about him, so he understands.
Yeah, that's interesting to because his input has been a lot. When I had him on the podcast, he mentioned that he listens to his players. He took that, and they were out there playing. They might know more of what we need to do than what I know. So your answer makes sense to that too. What he listens.
But this has been a very collaborative effort from Samantha, the assistant general manager, Mark Heigl, our executive chef, Dennis Kelly, our executive sous chef, the rest of the leadership, Freddie, Ryan Frankel. So it's it's been a collaborative effort to make this happen. Mm-hmm. This is not a one-person show, and again, it's people working tirelessly, giving input, trying to make this the best possible.
Mm-hmm. I see that. So how did you get like Samantha and Chef Mark on board, what was the process that you went through to find and choose those individuals to be a part of this team?
So, sometimes, especially in this environment, you have to take different approaches. Some fell into our lap, some were moving here, recruiters, some of those online platforms to, brand awareness. Obviously with the Spurrier name, it's kind of a high profile, so, people tend to, gravitate towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you have to kind of go out there, and once you find someone, hey, do you know someone else? Start calling, some of your friends in the industry, maybe doing some recruiting without, irritating, fellow businesses and stuff like that. But we're very lucky to have the team we have in place now.
Where did you find your chef?
We actually used a recruiter.
Okay.
And he was working up on Long Island, and his contract was up, and, we had done a couple of Zoom calls, and he's mainly spent the last 20 years or so South Florida, and did 2 Zoom calls. He's like, hey, I'm driving down next Thursday. I'll stop in Gainesville. We did a walk through the dirt, and shortly after that, we had a follow-up discussion, and then offered him the position. And next thing you know, packed his family and car up and moved up here, bought a house. So again, he's been working. His work ethic is amazing. So
Personality too. I've had the opportunity to talk with him a couple of times, and just a real outgoing person and a positive attitude.
So it's been great. Really, it's a pleasure to work with him. Sometimes chefs get a bad rap and stuff like that, but just very responsive to suggestions. We worked through these things. We were at Hotel Indigo, utilizing their kitchen, kind of developing the menu. And I told everyone that I was a sous chef. I was back there, chopping and dicing and all this other stuff, and helping them out. So it was definitely a team deal to kind of land the menu we have today.
Let's talk about that, because in a leadership world, whatever your product is, you have to make that decision. If you're selling rubber balls, or if you're selling, whatever, cars, you have to make a decision where you're going. Your product is kind of twofold. It's the environment, it's the experience, and it's also the food and the foods. How did you decide on that menu, and can you share with us what some of that interaction was with the leadership team to come up with the menu you have?
So we sat down one day, and we're, like a macro view, like, what's the best thing you've ever had? What's the best piece of fish you've ever had? What's the best seafood dish you've ever had? What's the best steak you've ever had? So that was kind of the big picture. And then we're like, how many appetizers do we need? How many entrees? How many pastas? And that was kind of the secondary. And then we're like, we have to make this the best possible. Each and every one of these dishes has to be the best. So what do you start with? Best natural ingredients. There's lots of different Parmesans out there, but Parmesan Reggiano is the best. We're going to use that. We're going to use fresh pasta. We're going to use the best cheese. We're going to use a 1855 Halprin's, Black Angus, upper 2/3 to prime beef product. We're not going to gravitate to a frozen fish. We're going to use fresh mahi, fresh redfish. We're going to use fresh scallops, fresh calamari. So that was the commitment. And every time, someone maybe suggested something else, we never wavered. That's not good enough. A lot of restaurants, when they're building out menus or a menu item, they try to get to a certain price point.
Gotcha.
And what that gets you is maybe a subpar product. I said, I want the best crab cake possible. How do we get there? And then we'll worry how to charge for it based on whatever we need to make, keep us.
And I had the crab cake, and it is the best I've ever had. So that was.
The shrimp and grits, we use grits from a small, granary in Georgia. They use a French burr stone. So again, it's all these little commitments to, have the best product, make sure it's local, make those local partnerships. Opus Coffee roasts our coffee. Trader Hills Farms does our aquaponics, our lettuce. Nora Mill Granary does our grits. So again, all those little commitments to buying local, the best possible ingredients, and we never waver from that. We had a lot of vendors coming in, hey, I can save you $10 a pound on a frozen piece of mahi. not going to make it into our restaurant.
There's not a freezer down here.
Exactly. So that's one way to ensure that you don't have anything frozen.
I love that
But again, it was, we are not going to waver. We are not going to deviate. We're going to have the best natural ingredients. We're going to work hard to make sure it's the best product. You know, we did lots of food tastings. You know, Freddie set up 2 to 3 food tastings a week. We did that for maybe 16 weeks. We highlighted a couple appetizers, a salad, 2 entrees, a dessert, and we just went through and we listened. And if it was an 8, we had to figure out how to get it to a 10.
Get it up
You know,
there,
if
right?
it was a 9, we had to get it to a 10. You know, if it was a 5, maybe it didn't make the cut. So, you know, we went through that, and then we were able from one week to the next week, you know, you raise the bar from 8s to 9s to 10s or 9.5s. And that was the goal, to kind of, you know, have something that really resonated with the, you know, our local customer base.
And as you remember, I was teaching a class at Hotel Indigo during that process. So as you were bringing these people in to eat this food, that scent, that aroma was like just, you know, going all through the room. And we were sitting in that, we were all getting so hungry we never got a touch of it. But we have a question here from the Facebook page. What is the most popular item on the menu at this time?
So there's a couple that are neck and neck. Most popular entree is our short rib and wild mushroom risotto. So we take a combination of wild mushrooms, saute them, put them in a risotto with a cream sauce, and then we use Quincy Cattle Farm. Provides our you know, local cattle farm. So that's one. Our shrimp and grit. You know, it's the Nora Mill granary white grits. We do mascarpone and white cheddar in them. You know, it's got the Gulf shrimp, large chunks of andouille sausage. They're kind of 1 and 2 on the entree thing.
I have to share, when my wife, Freddie gave my wife and my stepdaughter and her friend a tour on a Saturday afternoon, and Chef Mark was up there. And when he started talking about the shrimp and grits, I mean, you know, the drool starts coming down your face, because is that, where did that dish come from? Is it just a traditional, but you added some changes to it. How did you come up with that dish?
You know, being in the restaurant industry, you know, I've worked with some really great chefs. You know, I've seen some recipes, and then it was just kind of like, okay, that's kind of the baseline. How do we take some of these recipes, some of these processes, and improve upon them? And how do we do it at an elevated level? You know, and layering all these different things. A premium grit. Who puts mascarpone in their, you know, in their grits? You know, fresh Gulf shrimp, large, you know, cuts of andouille sausage, just really slow cook the sauce. So again, all those different layers came out to our final product. And I'm very proud of our shrimp and grits. I think it's, you know, one of the better ones in the States. But it was a long process.
To
you know,
get to it.
Sometimes, you know, we made 15 or 20 different batches. That didn't work, or it needs this. So it was this elevation. You just kind of like slowly, hey, it needs a little bit more of this, a little bit of that. But it starts with the natural ingredients, and then process and procedure, and then, you know, listening to our you know, the people that were doing the food tasting. How can we tweak it a little bit? How can we make it better? Can we get a better shrimp? Can we get a better andouille sausage? So again, it was always to, you know, add multiple layers of flavor. You know, and that's what's important, like depth of flavor. You know, we do a corn chowder. So we grill the corn, we take the corn off the corn stalks, we add some cream corn in there, we actually boil the corn stalks, cobs, in order to make a corn juice. And again, you know, someone the other day is like, wow, there's so many depths of flavor, and you continue to add and layer, and that's what makes a truly, you know, great dish. But you also have to execute that dish every single item, every single time.
Yep.
You know.
And also do it at a place where you can put it at a price point that is, I mean, if it takes double X the time you got to be able to do that in a time that's correct. Is that true? To keep the...
I mean, you have to execute in a timely manner. You know, there's been dishes throughout my career that, oh, this is incredible. But again, it might take start to finish 15 minutes. You don't have that on one dish. So again, you have to figure out procedures that you can execute a consistent, excellent dish in a timely fashion, and that's what it's about. It's about consistency. I know earlier I talked about one time, Bob, you come in and it's a 10, next time it's a 4. It's not a 6, it's a 4.
Yep.
So again, I talk about that almost on a daily basis, that consistency is key. Anyone can do it one time.
You got to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're sitting here in this room, the Coach's Podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. It's where we come from every single week. And you have people parading through here, which is a nice marketing thing. Yet, what is it like having this room right inside this? Like, I saw the pictures last night, and the way I was able to tell, Coach Billy Donovan, back-to-backs, his family were sitting right outside the room, right there, having their dinner. What is that like, having this facility here? This room itself.
This room, obviously there's someone in here on a daily basis, five days a week, I think. Sometimes multiple shows. Again, a lot of times they're before we open. But this is a big draw. People were in here last night taking pictures, peering through the window and stuff like that. And having a celebrity restaurant with all the memorabilia. There's things you're going to have to navigate, but the excitement of the Gator Nation just amazes me on a daily basis. They're just, it's like, kids in a candy store kind of walking around and seeing some of the details we have in the restaurant.
Okay, so there's the challenge. To me, I see that as a challenge. As a business owner and myself, I see that as a challenge. The ambiance brings them in. The museum, it's incredible. It doesn't matter if you're a Gator fan or if you're a football fan. This is a place you want to be.
Yes.
But you're a restaurant. So you have to deliver. You're not delivering just this. You're delivering a quality experience, culinary, so that people will come back. How do you keep that balance?
So I think the first engagement I had with the ownership team was, they asked me, this was a defining question for me. They asked, what's your thoughts about running a sports celebrity restaurant? And my answer, I still remember this, I said, most fail. But if I'm involved, I'm going to work, I'm going to outwork everybody, and that can't happen. That's not an option. Again, so a lot of times you build these great buildings and, you have all this incredible stuff in here, and it's, and then the food or service falls short. So again, my focus every single day, this stuff is incredible, but again, if without the food, without the service, without an incredible team, people come once, they won't come back.
Yep.
And you have to deliver, great food at large portions, great value, and, people realize it's something more than a museum. And again, that's important. That's going to get them in the door. But we have to want them to come back, on a weekly, daily basis.
That's awesome. Give me one line as we wrap up. We have 2 minutes to go. Give me one line that kind of captions your leadership philosophy.
Ownership, engagement, and just being invested in your team. I don't know if that was one line, but again, it was just caring about the people that work with you.
That's incredible. For people that haven't been to this facility yet, and no matter where you're traveling from, I'm from Michigan. Today, driving down here, I was passed many times by a lot of cars with Michigan plates. This is a go-to destination. Stop at 384, get off at exit 384, take a right. You'll find yourself to here, and it's an experience that you have to take. It's incredible. Andrew, I thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
We're gonna have to do this again because I could sit and chat with you forever, man. This is really great.
Here.
So one of the things I want to remind people, coming up in September, Dale Carnegie class at Hotel Indigo. Sign up. You can go to www.jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Find where it says Find Courses. Go ahead and register and sign up and join us. I'll be your instructor in that program. I'd love to get to know you. Come on out. It's an investment in you. It's an investment in your time. Again, Andrew, thank you for being a host of us here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille, more specifically in the Coach's Podcast Room. I love being a part of this. I love seeing your face and everybody that works here. It's an awesome place. Come join it. Thank you.